In this demonstration video, I'm going to show you how to make a design on linoleum and how to carve it. Okay, here are some examples of linoleum blocks. Okay, a block is just a term for this little sheet of linoleum. Okay, typically when you're printmaking, the object that you're printing is called a block. Okay, sometimes it's called a plate too, but most people call it a block. These are some examples that have already been carved away and printed. Okay, so right now here I have a little turtle a student made. Okay, and everything that is gray on this has been carved away. Everything that was black is left. Okay, so if I turn it on the side, you can see all those little grooves almost, and that's what was carved. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do those, like carve that away. Okay, here's some more examples of that. Now on these, you can barely see, this one is the one I made, you can barely see what was carved away. That'll be important whenever you start carving. When we get to that, I will explain why. Okay? So first off, here's my little piece of linoleum. I'm just kind of using a scrap piece that was not used. Okay? You can see already that there was something drawn on here, on the front and the back. So someone must have messed up whenever they were drawing. And that's important because basically if you draw something, I'll do this on the back. Say I draw a square. Maybe I want to draw a house. There's my little house. But I mess up. Say I don't know, I did like that or whatever. Okay? And I want to do something different right now. I can't go in with an eraser and erase this very well on this linoleum. Okay? You're always going to see this line, and if you want to make sure that everything is carved correctly, you need to be very careful about what you're drawing. Okay? So I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to draw a design. So maybe I want to do like a sun. So I'm going to draw a big circle first for the center of my sun. Maybe I want like a couple rings. I don't know. And I guess my rays will be like part of a triangle. Oh, I don't know, this could be like an arrow, I guess. Okay, so there's my design. After I have drawn my design, or after you draw your design, I need to figure out what I'm going to carve away and what's going to stay on this linoleum block. Okay, whatever you carve away will end up being white on your print. Okay, so if I'm looking at this race car, okay, and I showed this in another video, everything that is gray on here stayed white. Okay, so the outline of the car stayed. I didn't carve that. The outline of this wheel stayed. I did not carve it, but you know, he did carve the inside of that. He carved the inside of this car. Okay, he carved the inside of the windshield. He decided to keep the lines black. Okay, you could do the opposite. I'll show you the opposite. And you could carve on the lines. Okay, so when this person did their print, and I don't know what happened to it, I thought I kept it, they carved all their lines, okay? And the lines ended up being white on their paper. That's why this part is black, not white. So when I look at mine, I kind of want to keep this area black. So I'm just going to write a big X for keeping it black. Okay, so if this is black, all these little triangles need to be they're gonna be carved. So I'm gonna put like a little dot on every one, I guess. Okay, that means this needs to be white, carved away too. This is gonna stay, and that needs to be carved away. After you have figured out what's going to stay black or stay and what's going to be carved away, I would suggest taking a Sharpie and outlining all your lines. All the lines you drew. This just ensures that the pencil doesn't rub away as you're carving. And you know, if you messed up on your drawing a little bit, this will be good for like fixing those mistakes. Sometimes I like the little mistakes. Sometimes when people draw things perfectly round or perfectly square, it doesn't I don't know, it kind of lacks the character that I like, but to each their own. Okay, so now I have everything outlined. Everything is ready. So now's the fun part. Now I'm going to start carving. Okay, so I've got my gouge right here. Okay, and let me pull out the other tip so you can see what the other tip looks like. Well, let me find it. I guess I just put it back. There it is. Okay. So I've got two different tips. Okay, one is a lot bigger than the other. Okay. Mine, my design is fairly small. Yours might not be that small. You might have a lot of area you want to carve away. If you do, I would use your big U tip. Okay, this will carve away a lot more than this will. Okay, but since I have a small area, I'm going to use the small tip. I'm just going to zoom in for you guys so you can see a little closer. What is going on? Okay, I guess I won't zoom in. It doesn't like me. Okay. So first you need to figure out how this gouge kind of fits in your hand. Figure out a way that's comfortable for you. For me, let me figure out how I like it. I know, I like holding it like this, okay, because I got it in one hand secure, but I also like to wrap my other one around it just so I know I'm not going to slip, okay? When you carve, you need to carve away from yourself. If that's the only thing you learn out of this video, that's the good thing, okay? You want to carve away from yourself. What can happen if you're carving towards yourself like this? You can slip and that gouge, it's just going to go towards you like this, and you'll get your stomach, or you could go back and get your arm right here, okay? Also, when you're carving, and I'll show you in a little bit, if you want to do it with one hand, maybe like this or something, okay, make sure your other hand So I'm carving with my right because I'm right-handed. Make sure your left hand is not in the path of your gouge. Okay, if it's in the path and you slip a little bit, you're going to get your fingers. Okay, I've seen that happen to another student. He was carving and it had his hand right here and he stabbed his finger and bled everywhere. So make sure your hand is not in the path of your gouge, and make sure you're not carving towards yourself. Okay, when you carve, and I'll just get started, you want to kind of carve across the top. Okay, maybe I'll color this in so you can kind of see what I'm carving out. So when you carve, you want to kind of carve across the top. Okay, I've seen students go like this, where they're carving downward. All you're doing is digging a hole in there. Okay, eventually, if you keep carving and doing this, you're going to rip a hole through your linoleum. Okay, there are some parts, like on this student's, where the linoleum is so thin. Okay, it's about this thick, and he got it to about that thick. You don't need to carve that deep for your lines to show up. So it's about that thick. Do not go that thick. Okay? So you're just carving a little bit at a time, taking off the top layer. When I carve, I kind of like to go around the outline of something, so you have like a little barrier when you carve the inside. You know what, I'm going to try the big one on this. Sometimes these little ones make lots of little shavings that I don't like. Well, maybe. Guess not. So I'm just carving and I'm taking off the top layer. My hand is not in the path of my gouge. Now if I slid my hand across this, I could tell that there's a little bit, it goes down a little bit right where I've been carving. And if this kind of gets dirty, see how my the Sharpie is kind of smudging a little bit? That's okay. It's okay if it smudges a little bit. This is not going to show up on your paper. None of this graphite will show up on your paper when you print. So don't worry about that. Okay. I just want to show you one last thing before you get started on your own. I know I'm carving towards myself. I'm a hypocrite right now. Okay. I just want to show you how I carve curves. Okay. Because sometimes you have circular things that do not have straight edges. So this is how I carve curves. So let me fill in my circle right here, or sort of fill it in so you can kind of see what's going on. Okay, there we go. So dig your gouge in, okay, and I'm kind of going across the top. I'm not digging downward, okay. And then what I do is I turn the linoleum when I need to go around a curve, okay? And I'm not really picking my gouge up at all. I'm using the same amount of pressure as I go, okay? You could also move your gouge with it, but I just find it easier to move my linoleum as I go. Do whatever is comfortable for you. If you think it's easier to move your gouge, move your gouge. If you think it's easier to move the linoleum, to turn your linoleum, turn your linoleum, okay? It might take you a few tries before you get the hang of this. Okay, so that's how I do curves. Okay, so the steps to start carving a piece of linoleum is first draw your design. Figure out what's going to be black on your paper and what's going to be white. Then label those if you need help. Maybe outline everything with Sharpie and then start carving. Okay, and we carve away from ourselves and we do not have our hands in the path of the gouge. Okay. Also, when you carve, you want to go across the linoleum. You don't want to go downward. We're not digging. Okay, you're carving across the linoleum. Okay, I hope this is helpful for you whenever you start carving.